Hello, viewers, and welcome to Spotlight here on Hope TV, where you look and live. And here on Hope TV, here on Spotlight specifically, we always do our very best to bring to you, especially in this season, perspectives that will inform your conversations, perspective that will inform your understanding of the times, and also perspectives that would really inform your actions, especially when you are acting in the community as a Christian. And as we talk about the community, we live in a very competitive world. And now, when you talk about competition, you talk about winning because other people are your competitors. And that's the kind of world we live in, where we are conscious of the fact that other people are our competitors. But when you look back to the scriptures, you find that the great foundation of Christian living is love. And sometimes when you pitch love and competition, it seems to be that they cannot sit together in the same basket. And so we want to navigate this narrow path of love and competition by asking ourselves on this commentary, love or competition? Now, some time ago, I watched a finale of the American program at that time that was called The Apprentice. All of us remember that the main person in The Apprentice was Mr. Donald Trump, who has since become the president of the United States of America. Now, the judges were so impressed in this final by two finalists, that's a woman and a man, they could not choose between the two. They were so good. And it was clear even to me as a viewer that the two were excellent, fantastic. But after all the assessment, the man was voted to have won the event. Interestingly, one of the judges asked him whether he would want to share the success with the lady who had done very well and highly impressed the entire bench of judges as well. Now, in response, the winning man said something to the effect that this project is called The Apprentice, not The Apprentices. It's about a singular winner, not two. So I will not share the prize. I also watched an episode of a past season of Kenya's version of American Idol that was at that time dubbed Project Fame. The persons who made it to the next round would dance around in victory right before the eyes of the ones they defeated. I thought such jubilation without even passing a consolation, a handshake to the losers was rather insensitive. And you could see from the emotions of those who lost that it was really a lowly moment for them. Now, minding the feelings of their losers, I feel, would not have diluted their triumph. But as some would say, it was a competition, not an emotions nursing home. I also watched a track event in a past Olympic event, some past Olympic games. Now, one top sprinter who won several gold medals was faulted for not showing respect for his opponents. He went chest thumping and did not extend a hand of camaraderie to his losing race mates. As good sportsmanship, would demand that even though you've won it and won many golds, that you would at least extend a handshake to the people who are your race mates. Now, this gold-bagging sprinter did not seem apologetic, but insisted on his need to give his fans, and I quote, a good show. Now, a good show by ignoring fellow racers? At least they deserved a handshake for facilitating his golden victory. Now, in a subsequent press interview, this same great sprinter said something to the effect that he was simply exhibiting his personality, a competitive personality indeed. If today you get into a corporate institution, you will most likely get there through an interview process. Some organizations have multiple interviews such that when you finally get in, you will have been a successful candidate after several filters. When you receive the phone call that announces you as a successful candidate, the sense is that of triumph, winning, and importantly, scoring above others. Now, with this thought of scoring above others, the people who did not make it then become symbols of your triumph. Few even remember to wish them well. From the biblical story, the first seeds of competition were not between husband and wife, that is Adam and Eve, or between siblings, or nations, or institutions. The first seeds of competition, as sown in Genesis, were between humans and God. In the story, one may ask why the serpent had not used the cunning to catapult itself from its snaky situation. Now, the serpent seduced humankind by succeeding to make the first parents dissatisfied with their human portion. The serpent pointed them to a higher possibility, co-equaling God. This would mean dethroning God from his monopoly, and from that point, maybe even explore the possibilities of being beyond God. From that ancient competition was birthed all other forms of competitions that we experience today. Could that Eden story also explain the default drive in us to be better than others? Sometimes we even think we are smarter, more updated than even God. Competition has since clinched every zone of our world. In church, denominations pitch against each other. Some have perfected the science of splitting as if it were a virtue. Homes, spouses compete with each other, silently wrestling each other for power and home control. Siblings develop tensile relationships as they seek to beat each other to the tape of parental favor. They compete in the wealth department too, driven by a desire to be the one doing well relative to the others. Schools, education systems have rigorous competitive ranking systems through national exams. Schools, teachers, and students aim at beating their peers. The workplace is a prime competition arena as colleagues engage all manner of strategic artillery to be the one noticed for promotion. Though the surface language between workmates may suggest teamwork, the ruling undercurrent is a type of selfish competition. In social groups, friends aggressively labor to win respect and leadership in their cliques by achieving higher economic, intellectual levels, amassing fame and such other social capital. Nations fight against each other openly and silently as they seek to establish their political prowess. The competitive attitude automatically brews a loud or a silent sense of pride. It pitches people against each other. For example, in a workplace, workmates cease to be simply colleagues or neighbors as they may be commonly referred. As cited earlier, the seeming colleagues are actually competitors. Each wants to beat the other. Competition leads to a sense of meanness and selfishness. Your achievement is domesticated. It is yours. Why should you share it with someone else? Now, a young lady called me once and said, I have bumped into some information that is bound to be a great career impact booster. If I use it for myself, I will way outshine my colleagues. If I share it with my colleagues, they will be beneficiaries too, which I am not sure I want. I'm caught between glorying alone and glorying with others, outshining everyone or shining alone. What would you advise? Now, difficult situation for me to give counsel, but I remember that situation memorably. A competitive spirit sometimes degenerates into jealousy and hate. If two people are competing, jealousy and hate stand nearby to lead the cheer and jeer song of the competition. Hate feelings in one person wish suffering, misfortune, and elimination for the other. This is toast at the downfall. There is sometimes a toasting at the downfall of others. Recently, a friend was telling me how her colleague organized a party to celebrate the transfer of another colleague to another part of the country. But love has something different to say about enemies. Competition does get desperate. One of the yields of desperate competition is a resort to crude means of attaining triumph. The competitive spirit rests on what is referred to in strategic management as the competitive edge or the competitive advantage. But sometimes that competitive edge does not return the expected benefits, pushing the institution over the ethical edge. In a desperate competitive situation, we see a phenomenon often described in the corporate world as cutthroat competition. The result of this murderous, throat-cutting competition is not honor, respect, acceptance, or fairness. Rather, it resorts to crude, backstreet tactics like bribery, poaching of employees, coerced buy-offs, and smear campaigns. Some companies even buy their competitors' goods off the outlet shelves and physically destroy them. This is competition gone mad. Clearly, cutthroat competition runs on gangster philosophy. We have seen this also in politics. A feature in many political elections is the mobilization of witches and witchcraft. Their purpose is to cast spells which would favor the patient and stall the rival. Political assassinations are also inspired by competition. The raw competitive spirit aims not at supporting the other, but at outdoing the other. En route to Jerusalem, Jesus rebuked his disciples who proposed that fire be summoned to consume some uncooperative Samaritans. He seems to say, Jesus, I can call fire from heaven if I need to, but that is not the way to relate with those who do not like me. That is in Luke chapter 9 from verse 51 through to 56. Now, the depth of this is that love does not aim at intimidating others by our positions. Love aims at supporting others through our achievements. You may have heard and even used the phrase, competition is healthy. Doubtlessly, competition is healthy and necessary. But we must put a rider on this phrase and say that competition is healthy if it is done in a healthy way and if it produces health. To the extent that competition produces death and annihilation of what is good, it ceases to be healthy. Instead, it becomes a hazard. If peer pressure drives a young girl to steal money from her parents to buy the necessary fitting-in accessories, then the competitiveness is unhealthy. If in a bid to punish the husband, a wife introduces competition by acquiring a boyfriend, the competition is unhealthy, very unhealthy competition. If an organization bribes government officers to manipulate its tax status and boost its profitability, the organization is an unhealthy competitor. I put it to us that competition is healthy if it is done in love and for love. If there was a place where showdown was truly set up, it was at the cross. Here, Jesus was reduced to powerlessness by Pharisees and Roman soldiers. The Pharisees were displaying their power, their tact, and their wit. Jesus could have responded by unleashing his power and his might also, as did Moses before Pharaoh. But Jesus used another style. Instead of showing off before the Pharisees and jeering their flowfulness, he instead loved them, even to the extent of forgiving their sins. An important question is, does love have a place in a competitive world? Now listen to that question again. Does love have a place in a competitive world? Now, if you look a little closer to this question, you will notice that this is the question which would be asked by people who have competition as their basic premise. From a raw Christian perspective, this question needs rephrasing. Why? Because we believe that God is the creator of the world and that God is love. Love, therefore, is the ruling spirit, the basic premise for the believer. For people with love as their basic premise of reasoning, the more appropriate question would be then, does competition have a place in a loving world? So, does competition have a place in a loving world? The answer is a clear yes. In a loving world, competition is not meant to make others feel small. It is not meant to reduce the other people into symbols of defeat. Rather, it is meant to inspire and challenge others to the faithfulness of bringing the best out of themselves. Paul did not say, outdo each other, as many of us tend to do. What he said was, outdo each other in doing good. In a loving world, competition is not meant to make the winning clique create a losing community to look down upon, dominate, and abuse. No, rather, the winners are ahead, not for the sake of staying ahead, but for the sake of pulling others up to a better way of life. This way, the whole community steadily moves up to newer levels of abundant life. Indeed, the strength of the strong belongs to the weak. Love shoots down negative competition. Negative competition shoots down love. Love gives lenses to see other people as neighbors. Competition gives lenses that depict other people as threats. The more one is saturated with negative competition, somehow they drift away from the neighbor emphasizing God. When the same negative competitiveness finds way in the faith community, cracks develop in the fellowship, and attrition and commotion become defining characteristics of the congregation. Let your life begin from love. And not just any love, but that particular type uniquely found in Christ Jesus. Let everything else be a servant of love. Let love be the fundamental informer of your imagination. Let love be the root that feeds every action. Let love be the fragrance that fills your world. Let everything else be supportive of love. Love is what gives a unique taste to Christian achievement. When you talk about back to the basics, we really mean back to love. Negative competition shoots down love. Love shoots down negative competition. Competition gives lenses that depict other people as threats. Love gives lenses to see other people as neighbors. This has been Spotlight. Thanks for watching.